get what it is. I'm like, well, you kind of worked it out already that you love it. It's enough. One of the things I wanted to do is give us a more of an experience of transformational engagement. What does a transformation feel like? How does it look? How do we create that within this community? And one of the places we work a lot is context. We talk about context all the time. And I'm often accused of talking in ways that people don't get what I'm saying. Who else could agree with that? Yeah, all the hands have gone up. But who would admit that they're actually starting to hear words now that actually start to make sense? And you start to use language. So language is a tool. Language is a tool for us to articulate our ideas in a way that other people can engage with those ideas. And there's only a certain amount of words that can go around. And at some point we have to rejig what a word might mean. And what it might mean in this culture, and what it might mean in an external culture. Also, through the Know and Be Know sections, our specialist knowledge is becoming shared. And we are becoming exposed to that. Everything from mindfulness to pranic healing, energy, finance, numbers, bubble theory. You know, the next time you hear the word bubble, and you're not talking about a Greek person, I mean, I can say it's on Turkish. Next time you hear the word bubble, you might think, I can say it's on Turkish.
It's a new gorgeous
I want to know the peace.
That's where it come from.
He does spend a lot of time in the Greek side of Cyprus. I'm just saying, all right?
You're so subtle.
Al, I put it to Al, you have now communicated a unit of culture, a unit of some units of information, and you could call those memes, and those memes they get passed on to other people. So I promise you, the next time you hear the word bubble, you will think of Alan and his bubble theory. You've seen it, you can't unsee it now. You know, even now when I just said bubble theory, did the three circles come to mind? Did they? Straight away? Yeah? Me too. I just saw the three bubbles and that little sweet spot in the middle. Yeah. All those Greek people in there going, it's I see! So, our experience of making a difference is what I would have said is one of a major part of our experience of being collaboration. Is that experience to acknowledge that I was in a certain place when I got into this conversation, and through that journey new opportunities, new ways of thinking were presented to me. Now obviously if you present information and you do nothing with it, it probably falls by. But what I hear in Alan's share today, and first time I've heard it like that, I knew he had a bubble theory. And I thought he was being racist. And I thought, that's my job, I'll do that. But the thing is, that I would say for me, in terms of going back to the innate genius, and one of our core values, is I'm starting to hear Alan in a way that tells me he's sharing something, well he said it, with gratitude, authenticity, a sense of truth, joy, love, connection. That is now a different Alan to any Alan I've ever met before.
That's nice.
Just hold that for a sec, right? Because we want to kind of dissipate that level of authenticity. But that is a different Alan. He's expressing himself in a way that is sourced by something other than his past, other than his identity, other than something he wants to fix, but actually a contribution. I bet you in the next week or so you're going to think about the bubble theory, you're going to think about your family, or your work, or your me time, and think to yourself, have I got that in balance? What could I do to get that in balance? And that's another filter that Alan has brought from within him out and contributed that to the collective knowledge of this group. And we've videoed that so it can have more of a chance to, you know, during the early days, we still use shut down against the egg with the sperm, he's created something, he's brought something into life. Now the book and him getting in front of people is one way of spreading that, but then we're witness to that. One of the things I've been saying for a while is don't look at the meeting as what are they going to talk about, and I'm interested in that, I'll come. Because there's people today that miss the bubble theory, and I think they miss something really big. Because what I liked about it, that's going on. What I loved about it, and there's two numbers, there's three numbers, you're 10, 10 and you're 80. There's 10%, probably most of the people in here will go, yeah, I get that. I live like that anyway. Who heard any of that stuff and went, wow, massive news? No, not in this community. Right? And then he said there'll be 10% that probably don't even want to hear it. And wherever they are is fine. I'm talking to 80% of people. Do you know how insane that is to say I'm going to talk to 80% of people? Most marketing, most speak is saying, find your niche, your 2%, and talk to the people that can hear you. Alan, I don't know if he knows this, but what you just said is not normal. I'm going to talk to everyone by 20%. And the 20%, 10 of them get it anyway. He's actually thinking he will hit 90% of our population with 3 circles and a big one surrounding them. And I love that. And I love that because that, for me, is his innate genius coming out. And I don't think you can suppress that now. If Jill said to me, no, you're not writing a book, we're going, oh, bloody well I am. I've got 3 areas of my life, I can do it in my me time. It's not encroaching on work or family. I'm waiting for the opportunity to use that, right? So here is an organisation that is actively promoting innate genius. And we're saying, whether, through the curriculum and through the meetings and through the Be Inspired and the orientation, all of that added up to the adventures he's had in other programmes and other books. This space is a catalyst. Or it's like, and who was it? Oh yeah, Joe Worsley said on a call. So big collaboration is like a petri dish for possibility. Petri dish, is it petri? Petri. You know what they put fungus in and it grows. So that is a core value that's been part of this culture from day one that has Alan standing in front of a room of people saying, I want to hit 80% of the population. Just let that sink in. I would assert that that isn't hard work for you. I would assert, yes, it takes something. It takes something to sit and write a book. But I assert that that's your expression. That's like you flooding out who you are for yourself and who you are for others. And I don't hear many people doing that kind of work. They don't think they can. They don't think they've got time for it. Too busy working on their job, paying bills, running around like we do. But Alan has designed his life that he says by January that book will be out. And I don't think anyone here really got how monumental that is. Because you've got it, you'd be on the brink of tears. That's how I feel right now. You think I'm sitting there passively listening? I'm not. I'm listening for that man becoming and achieving and delivering the true value in his heart. That's what people are getting in this environment. And yes, then you compare that to what's going on out there, where they appear and turn up and say, hey, I'm an accountant, here's my card, hey, I'm a da-da-da, I'm a surveyor. We don't even care about any of that, really. Did anyone really care about the fact that he sells off, paper to schools? What did you get? You got the real Alan.
Yeah, I've got a pen.
I've got a pen. Humour's a very important part of our culture.
Yeah.
So I'd like to get some feedback on that. In terms of our core values, and I'd like Alan to respond as well. But I want Alan to get what people really now they're getting aware of what happened just now. What's occurred with
There's 2 things there. One is the very fact that that genius came out, right, in the form of the Greek bubble, right?
Greek bubble.
And the other part, which is the most important part, which I think is it's always there, but the environment wasn't. Imagine doing that presentation at BNI. They wouldn't take your money. You wouldn't, because they wouldn't get it. So the 2 things. One, the fact that genius came out. So there's the thing, you look at society, how do you bring people genius out? We talk about the school system and work and all that. But the key thing they don't get is the environment is not there. And what you're doing with Rico and this sort of environment is people take that for granted. Environment is key to everything. Like you just said, what's that petri dish? Did you say?
Petri dish.
Yeah. So it's an environment. That's all it is. So this person it's just people don't understand. Oh, sorry, not don't understand. I don't think people really appreciate how much environment is key to everything else. You've got school. Well, they're all there. We're teaching them. We're learning them. We're giving them equipment. We've got computers. We've got that flip charts. What else do you want? But the environment that teachers giving is they're saying, they're not doing, they're not being. So the kids are thinking, well, you're saying do this, but I see you having a fag at the back. So the environment's not conducive for that to come out. So I think the thing for you, Alan, is it's probably always there, but probably the first time you thought, I'm safe there. I can really be authentic. I'm out there, and only because Be Collaboration called that out to you, called it out of you. Sorry.
Paige, can I invite you? Don't tell him how he felt about it. Tell us how
That's
you
what I felt. I felt
for
that
you.
he felt self.
No. What does
For
it mean
me,
for you?
for me, it made me feel like really pleased. Not pleased. Pleased probably underselling it, but quite privileged to think that you could do that without feeling that I'm being mocked or judged. Because imagine a world where kids could do that sort of thing without feeling, oh, I'm not going to be bullied or mocked or judged. And that's what it's just the environment.
Well done. Thank you, Paige. Who else would like to comment? Remember, think about saying something you're not. Just trust yourself. You know, Alan says something, he goes, I could have done all these notes, I could have prepared, I could have come out here with all these things, but I came out here as my authentic self. And for me, who experienced it was natural, flow, like he didn't do any work for that, he just turned up and went, see you later. That's flow. Who'd like to comment? Observation?
Just following on what Beju said, is just to remind people that Paul Cameron brought his son once, who was 18, and we all had a drink afterwards in the pub. And I was saying, what did you think? Did you enjoy it? He went, I wish school was like this, he said. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, I felt like if whatever I said, nobody was going to take the mickey out of me or ridicule me. It felt like it was a safe space. And that was one visit he came on. So that was at the beginning of the seed for me to say we need to be collaboration in schools. To breed that environment.
Well done, John, yeah. Anyone else?
I think sometimes...
You're a guest as well. Feel you're part of this today? It's nothing.
I think, you know, one thing that I've learned as well from being here is that who is sitting in front of you is not really who's sitting in front of you. And there's something else that's lurking inside them that you might not necessarily know from the offset of meeting that person. Like Jerry, for example, has...
So you know what, up until that point Jerry was kind of bored thinking we're just going to fit Jerry.
He wasn't with me with the prostitutes.
Jerry's a gigolo. He's got the chat, he's got the swag.
But what I think is like, you know, like with Alan, for example. So, you know, I've seen Alan a few times. He's always sat at the back. He's always been quite quiet, a very good listener. And then suddenly he's at the front of the room talking about a bubble paradigm. You know, that's like, wow, I just kind of knew Alan that had his own business as a very kind, loving man, great family man, rubbish at table tennis. I whipped his ass.
There was 21-9-10.
I just used you to walk but you know what I mean is like Georgia, all I know is that you're a beauty therapist. Well, that doesn't really tell me anything. That just tells me what you do. It doesn't tell me about, you know, who you are, what your passion is. And so what I'm saying is it's really nice that within this environment we learn something much more fundamentally energetic and exciting about people.
Can I add something to that? And I think I completely with you there. But imagine the first questions we ask people is, how do you earn your money? That's how indoctrinated we are with money. Because at the first question you mostly ask people, so what do you do for a living? That's what we're saying. We don't say, who are you?
My name's been mentioned, I will actually say
take
that permission to say. And it's kind of broader because it's about, if you said like Be Collaboration different to a networking group, there's kind of, although there's a lot of small business people here, Adam being one of them, and it's like all the rules of business is kind of breaking down. One of the things that Simon says about he only works for people he likes, I've worked for some awful people, and I thought that's what I was supposed to do. You know, I go out and get clients, they criticise you, dress you down, everything, and you carry on working for them. And then you thought, oh, if you got permission to say, like, I only work for this person because I like them, and do you have permission to say, okay, right, my business is there, but I'm also a little bit of a philosopher doing this kind of stuff as well.
Yeah. Well, I think that's an adventure, and I think You know, I reckon what I hear, especially when Simon shared it as well, and I've felt that way. I work with clients so they can work with the kind of people that would appreciate their certain level of specialist view and the way they do something where they go, actually, your dream come true. And when you're working with people like that, it feeds your soul, it puts money in your pocket. And the other thing I found, you find other people that will refer you, and you will refer other people because of that. Because you know, when you refer somebody, that person's going to make a difference to it, and you want to make a difference. And I think that's operating at a higher vibration, so here we go, vibration, energy, than the one of survival in the money paradigm. So when we're in the money paradigm, we think of those terms, surviving within the money paradigm. And in Be Inspired, you know, what we say is genius aids collaboration, is when you're connected to your genius. When you heard Alan speaking, there's a certain abundant mindset there. It's like a sharing of that knowledge is, and what he does for a living. I get that, yes, we're all out in that market and we want to get to the people we want to get to. But there's like a, and I'm making this up, Al, right? But there's like a oomph behind you that says, I know who I am. I know my value. So I have a choice. Maybe I will work with you and I don't really like you. But I probably won't. I'll choose to work with people I like and like me. And that makes life a lot easier. And I'd say that's a connection to your genius or your flow or your higher self. Or, you know, don't get caught up on the terminology. Whatever works for you. You know what I mean. You know what I mean. So Alan, would you like to... You've heard what people have said. Does anyone else want to say anything to Alan? Was anyone, I think, did you... Georgia, were you going to say something? No? You sure? You don't have to be as smart as Claudia. You can say whatever you want. Right, okay, cool. Alan, please, what's your... Remember, the subject matter is innate genius, yeah?
First of all, I'd just like to thank everyone for those lovely comments. It was absolutely amazing to hear people talk about you and what you got out of my talk today. I was absolutely enamoured by all the comments. I think what I didn't, I mean, Claudia sort of said that I didn't explain when I had a transformational moment. I didn't explain that very well, but it was the Be Inspired. It was Jill's constant education, and this other course I did with my touchstone. So that was the 3 touch points, if you like, of my change and transformation. What I'd just like to do is I'd like to recite, if I can remember it, the first 3 lines of the book, because it really sums up where I'm coming from with this book and what it's all about in a nutshell. And it's from the Desiderata, if anyone's heard of that. Some people call it a prayer, other people just say it's a way of living. But it's the first 3 lines of my book, and this just sums up really what I want to finish off with. The first 3 lines of the book say, and every word counts in this, right? It's 3 lines, but every word counts. So I'm going to say it slowly, but listen to every single word, all right? Go placidly amid the noise and the haste, and remember what peace there is in silence. As far as possible, be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others, even the dull and the ignorant. They too have their story.
It's very powerful.
And that sums up for me what my genius is about, what I want to share with people, and what this group has done for me.
Okay. You're getting something out of this. What are you getting? What's opening up for you? Why would you ever miss a session here? I was looking at you. Why would you ever miss a session? This is how it always goes. This is how it goes. We didn't put this on just for you.
That's all about me.
This is all about you. Why would you miss a session? And why wouldn't you have people in your life that would be open to this kind of conversation come? Because that's what we're building, that momentum. Now, if we weren't here to witness that, what would your week have been like? To me, that's made my week. And I've been around some great stuff this week. And that made my week. Really did. So think about, you know, you think about your life and your work and your home life and your me time, in that quiet moment, what is it that you could take on? Have a think. I'm not going to ask you to, you can just have a think about what would you take on? You know, maybe something with your wife or your husband or an old friend you haven't seen for ages, turn up to one of their meetings. What would you take on? What conversation could you have? What, you know, you've been meaning to register to do something for ages that you haven't done. That you know what, you've never really felt yourself like, you know, you can justify that level of indulgence right now, maybe that me time thing. Who's put back Barcelona? I can't go to Barcelona, I've got too much work to do. I've given Barcelona for me as a gift, as all the work I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need some time out, me time like that. Giggles.
Sasha?
No, just
Oh, you just Richard.
That's
very good then.
I could do Barcelona to go and Ibiza. Change it to Ibiza, you come with me.
Well, it could happen.
Disco.
Closing party.
So okay, well I'm going to move on. And I think what I'd really invite you to do is, you know, after we go down to the bar, is, you know, individually just let Alan, just give him some feedback on the difference it made for you witnessing his. I'm not saying agree with the bubble theory or not. That's something else. I'm talking about him expressing that, and how what that might mean for you expressing your next genius, right? So I want to talk a bit about the opportunity and the possibility of transformation in the way I think of it right now, because I've been around it a long time, and big collaboration is predicated on transformation. You know, we write it in our vision and mission. We're not out to prove a model, but we're looking for the very best of whatever there is out there in the world and bring it. You know, bubble theory could be the new thing that rocks the world, right? And here we are, the first people to hear it publicly. Yeah, we have people in here that are breaking boundaries. You know, Sasha with Beijing with Wannabe and bringing entrepreneurship to young people. Sasha with his crowdfunding business and bringing crowdfunding and helping investors and helping people looking for entrepreneurs. This is a groundbreaking environment. You know, Simon and the digital team writing The Quest. If you haven't read it, it's quite controversial in some ways. You know, and that's what I see, is a community of people that are willing to take something on. So transformation looks a bit like this for me. There's life. We start out zero, most of us do, and we go through life. We kind of get better at certain things, and and then, you know, come 80 years old, boom, we die. Every one of you is going to die. Maybe you come back as a butterfly. Maybe you come back as whatever you come back as. But for me, transformation looks like something like this. You go along life. Say that's our adulthood start, and we get into these kind of things, and all these networks of conversations and stories about how the world works, how your mum is, how your dad is, how money is, how relationships are, how other people are, how we relate to the professions, how we have this network of hundreds of stories that start to create our experience of the world, and then we live inside them, and we forgot that we made those stories up. Because we don't all have the same stories, do we? No. But we have some people that agree with our stories. Yeah, I agree with you, and you agree with me, and we're friends. And then those people over there don't agree with our story, they're not people we want to mix with. You could call that broadly culture. So here we are going through life, and instead of these things empowering us, they become like a tension around us that's being pushed in. And we're trapped inside those stories. You know, got broken hearted before, I'm not going to love again. You know, men are blah blah, money is blah blah, women are blah blah.
Don't want to do that in business.
What's the politically correct word for your colour? Was it black people are, whatever, Turkish people are, Greek people are, people who live in Hertford think they know it all, whatever. Those stories, we do. That's our story. No. So these stories start to contain us. And there's not much possible within those stories because we already know that that is kind of predictable. And we'll kind of know, you know, Jim Rohn says something like, you know, if you want to know how the next 2 years are going to be, they're probably going to be like the last 2 or 3 years.
I think it's going.
Well, That's a conversation we can have later session.
Well, we don't really die.
We go to heaven.
I just watched something earlier this morning. Some bloke is working on the fact that anti-aging, and he believes it's actually completely possible, and he won't fix it now. But there are actual lobsters in the sea that never age.
Well, think if we live in a paradigm that says you get old and die, then we're fulfilling that paradigm.
Yeah, we just believe it to be true.
So why do we need to die?
So I want to ask you this question. There's a line here, right? And someone who's seen this before. And if we had behaviour, well, we talked about behaviour. What kind of behaviour would you put below the line? What would be below the line? Bad behaviour. Like what? What would that look like? Magnus?
Poking you in your way.
Lying, cheating,
Yes.
stealing.
Stealing. And how would we be being? You know, how would we be being if we were lying, cheating, and stealing?
Why is that bad?
Well, we're not going that philosophy discussion. You know why?
Why is it bad? No.
No, ignore him.
Okay.
Right, he's not even here. I'm going to put him in the corner.
He's on the naughty.
You won a competition to be here today.
Yeah, how could you be being if you're operating below the line?
You would be being I don't know really. Stressed maybe? You would be being
Well, if I'm stealing things, I probably have a very a relationship with you that's disconnected. Because I can justify taking your stuff, can't I? Some level. Could be that.
yeah?
Disenfranchised. I'm kind of looking for
Disconnected,
disconnected, good, yeah. So there's certain behaviour below here that has us operate a certain way. What kind of behaviour would we have above the line? I'm going to term that good for now.
I think you'd be uncaring if you're below the line, and probably caring if you're above it.
Like a traffic light, isn't it? Red says stop, green says go. So when you consider that, if we're operating above or below the line, I'm going to call this one empowered. I'm going to call that one disempowered. So here we are, we're living our life, and we have these network of conversations, stories, that tell us the way the world works and the way everything all adds up. And we're going to ask ourselves, does that empower me? Does that story empower me, or does that story disempower me? Okay. So here we are, going through life, and Alan said earlier when he had a transformation, it's like there was a peak experience that took him up. Right? And he carried on through life, maybe he had that in Be Inspired, or maybe he had it with a conversation with Jill, or maybe he had it going over the San Francisco Bridge. But then he had another peak experience, another peak experience, another peak experience, or insight or outcome, and then he's going to die anyway. Maybe at 130. How about that? You remember that?
150, please.
Okay. 150.
Maybe 5 years time.
So what you consider is these jumps in the way we view the world change us, transform us forever. Alan can't go back. We can't get the butterfly back into the chrysalis. Is it chrysalis? Caterpillar. Can't get the butterfly back in. Who here's seen the big collaboration video on the website? You notice the butterflies at the end? That's what that's symbolising, is that in this community we empower and create a space for transformation. And to quote Angela Makepeace, to be the best me I can be. Is that the right quote? Now imagine that we don't just have Alan, but we have Alan, we have Claudia, we have Jill. Alright Sash, I'll let you come in as well.
Thank you.
And we have all these people connecting in a way that puts us in action. And to quote our strapline, inspire collective action. It's getting that momentum of people that are willing to work on themselves and look at themselves first in action with other people, making things happen. And that to me is a basis for this community, embedded in the tenets of transformation. And we make that happen. Alan For the first time, my experience of him, I'm not saying he hasn't done it outside, did it formally in front of the room, in a new version of him. And that to me is what this work is. And I bet tomorrow he'll do his job better, he'll be known in a different way. Next time you see Alan, you'll think bubble. Double bubble.
And being collaboration has done the same. Like, see those steps? Every meeting, every 3-4 months, it's moved. I mean, you know, you can just look at that. See that poster there? That poster was there right at the beginning. You sat there inspiring collective action in business, actually. It's not really just in business anymore. But, you know,
Yeah.
so that was what it was about when it started, and it just develops and grows and evolves into something that's even better.
We're going to keep this, and this will be in the museum one day.
Because it's not.
Or we'll eBay it, maybe get £100 for it. But yeah, that we don't even use that anymore. We haven't used that in ages. Like, you've got a good point, Sash. So that to me is the way transformation plays a part of this community. And when you're explaining B collaboration, I want you to understand what it means. For, not that I want you to have an understanding that I'm giving you, but have an understanding that I get to grow in this community. And then I get to connect with other people who are growing and transforming and create opportunities and do stuff. Because I think the thing that we need to confront, if we don't start getting in action, our planet is in serious crisis. We know that, don't we? Do we know that, right? We know that. For various reasons. And we all have our stories about that, don't we, Sarah? Yeah. Sarah has a story, Paul might have a different story, I've got a different story, but what we have is that common unity. That way that we can articulate the story that empowers each and every one of us. Why? Because we chose to. Like an opportunity. To me, the opportunity of standing up and sharing your vision for something that's going to make a difference is what this work's all about. And I, for one, look forward to seeing that book written. Unless anyone's got any questions for me, I kind of said what I was going to say. Is that about time? Yeah. Cool. Do you have any questions or all done? Yeah? Give me a speech.